students, my name is Ilona Sekretova and I'm your English teacher. Today we talk about the banking system of Kyrgyz Republic. Monetary authority of a country granted the exclusive privilege to lend a government its currency. Main functions: controlling money supply, money issuance, setting the official interest rate, implementing monetary policy. Currency issuance: exclusive privilege of a central bank. Examples of naming: in Russia, we say Bank of Country. In USA, Reserve Bank of USA. And our country, National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic. Main policy instruments: open market operations, reserve require ratio, discount rate policy. Open market operations do not require the immediate printing of new currency, most frequently used tool of central bank. Discount rate policy affect the balance between demand and supply, taken into account before starting business. Conclusion: central bank system becomes the most important mean of economy policy in crisis period. Let's talk about banking system of Great Britain. 1979. The law on banking activity, credit institutions, recognized banks, licensed companies, and accepting deposits. We have some levels in the banking system of Great Britain. Level first, central bank. Level second, commercial banks, specialized banks, trading, foreign, saving banks, discount houses. Central Bank of Great Britain, Bank of England, founded in 1694. 1,268 shareholders, 1,200 pounds, nationalized in 1946. The role of the central bank: emission of banknotes, influence on the size of cash reserves of banks and money stock, the advisor of the government concerning monetary and credit policy, operations on management of official gold and exchange currency reserves, regulation of an exchange rate of pound sterling, supervision of banking system, accounts of other banks, accounts of the government and the governmental departments, management of a public debt. Commercial banks: the Great Four: National, Westminster, Barclays, RBS, Lloyds. Passive operations: reception of deposit, deposits at call, deposit account, saving deposits. Active operations: discount loans and investments in securities. Specialized banks: trading banks, foreign banks, saving banks. The central bank, a central bank or reserve bank, is an institution that manages a state's currency, money supply and interest rates. Central banks also usually oversee the commercial banking system of their respective countries. The central bank and government, central banks in most developed nations and institutionally designed to independent from political interference, still limited control by the executive and legislative bodies usually exists. Activities and responsibilities of the central bank. First, implementing monetary policies. Second, setting the official interest rate. Third, controlling the nation's entire money supply. Fourth, the government's banker and the banker's bank, lender of last resort. Fifth, managing the country's foreign exchange and gold reserves and the government stock register. Sixth, regulating and supervising the banking industry. The Bank of England. The Bank of England, formerly the Governor and Company of the Bank of England, is the central bank of the United Kingdom and the model on which most modern central banks have been based. It was established to act as the English government's banker and is still one of the bankers for the government of the United Kingdom. The Federal Reserve System, the USA. The Federal Reserve System, the Fed, is the central banking system of the United States. The Fed is composed of several layers. It is governed by the presidentially appointed Board of Governors or Federal Reserve Board. 12 regional Federal Reserve banks located in cities throughout the nation oversee the privately owned U.S. member banks. Private bank. Private bank is a special personalized financial and banking offering for wealthy person called high net worth individuals or HNYES. These banks have a long tradition in Switzerland, dating back to at least the revocation of the Edict of Nantes, 1685. Private banks also have a long tradition in the UK, with Hoover and Co. has been in business since 1672. The wealthy individuals normally have more than $1 million. However, entrance fee for some banks can be higher, $5 million or even $30 million. Private banks can also refer to non-government owned banks in general, in contrast to government owned or nationalist banks. Private banking firms are more exclusive for this especially affluent subset of wealth management. At least until recently, it largely consisted of banking services, deposit taking and payments, discretionary asset management, brokerage, limited tax advisory services, and some basic concierge type services offered by a single designated relationship manager. Banking industry of Kyrgyz Republic. We have two-level national bank and commercial bank. Organizational structure of the National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic. According to the law of the Kyrgyz Republic on the National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic, banks and banking activity. The mission of the National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic is to achieve and maintain price stability by pursuing the appropriate monetary policy. The bank's mission determines its primary tasks and functions. Functions and responsibilities are distributed between the structural divisions of the National Bank, representing its organizational structure. Goals, objectives, and functions of the National Bank. The status, objectives, functions, powers, and principles of organization and activity of the National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic are legislatively determined by the Constitution of the Kyrgyz Republic and the law on National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic banks and banking activity. The overall objective of the activity of the National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic is to achieve and maintain stability of prices by means of implementing an appropriate monetary policy. The primary task contributory to attainment of the corporate objective of the bank is to maintain a purchasing power of the national currency and safety and reliability of the banking and payment system of the Republic. Services of commercial banks in the Kyrgyz Republic. Cash and settlement operations, non-cash transfers, transfers without opening an account, internet banking, payments via the SWIFT system, payment of wages via e-cards, payment via ATMs, payment cards, travelers' checks, operations with government and corporate securities. Let's talk about investment banks. The main task of banks is to mobilize long-term loan capital and provide it to borrowers through the issues and placement of shares, bonds, and other types of loan obligations. Banks of the first type were formed as limited partnerships in the first quarter of the 19th century. Banks of the first type currently conduct transactions with corporate securities. They also perform functions related to attracting capital, servicing the securities market. The main function is medium and long-term loans to branches of the economy special purpose programs. The Bank of Canada. The Bank of Canada, or simply BOC, is Canada's central bank. The bank was chartered by and under the Bank of Canada Act on July 3rd in 1934 as a privately owned corporation. In 1938, the bank was legally designated a federal crown corporation. A commercial bank is an institution that provides services such as accepting deposits, providing business loans, and offering basic investment products. Primary functions. Commercial banks accept various types of deposits from public, especially from its clients, including saving accounts deposits, recurring accounts deposits, and fixed deposits. Commercial banks provide loans and advances of various forms, including an overdraft facility, cash credit, bill discounting, money at call, etc. Commercial banks introduce different investment programs for all income level people. The secondary functions of commercial banks can be divided into agency functions and utility functions. Agency functions include to collect and clear checks, dividends and interest warrant, to make payments of rent, insurance, premium, etc., to deal in foreign exchange transactions, to purchase and sell securities, to act as trustee, attorney, correspondent, and executor, to accept tax proceeds and tax returns. Utility functions include to provide safety locker facility to customers, to provide money transfer facility, to issue traveler's check, to accept various bills for payment, phone bills, gas bills, water bills, etc. To provide various cards, credit cards, debit cards, smart cards, etc. Let's watch the video.
With English expanding in all directions, along came a new breed of men called lexicographers who wanted to put an end to this anarchy, a word they defined as what happens when people spell words slightly differently from each other. One of the greatest was Dr. Johnson, whose Dictionary of the English Language took him 9 years to write. It was 18 inches tall and contained 42,773 entries, meaning that even if you couldn't read, it was still pretty useful if you wanted to reach a high shelf. For the first time, when people were calling you a pickle herring, a jobbernowl, or a fopdoodle, you could understand exactly what they meant, and you'd have the consolation of knowing they were all using the standard spelling. Try as he might to stop them, words kept being invented, and in 1857 a new book was started that would become the Oxford English Dictionary. It took another 70 years to be finished after the first editor resigned to be an archbishop. The second died of TB, and the third was so boring that half his volunteers quit, and one of them ended up in an asylum. It eventually appeared in 1928, and it's continued to be revised ever since, proving the whole idea you can stop people making up words is complete snuff bumble.
What is ATM? How do you think? Automated telephone manager, automated teller machine, or automatic tell machine, or auto transmission? An automated teller machine, ATM, is an electronic banking outlet that allows customers to complete basic transactions without the aid of a branch representative or teller. Anyone with a credit card or debit card can access cash at most ATMs. Bank teller, a person whose job is to pay out and take in money in a bank. A day in the life of a bank teller: count their cash drawer at the beginning and end of the shift, take cash checks, debit cards, and other payment forms from customers, exchange money for foreign currency. How many kinds of bank account are there? Think of it. 3, 4, 2, or maybe 5. The different types of bank accounts are savings account, deposit account, a checking account, a paying account. But remember, each country has its own banking system features. Is for money you are going to use now or soon? What is it? A saving account, a checking account, a deposit account, or maybe a paying account? A checking account is a bank account that allows easy access to your money. You can make purchases by using your debit card, checks, or account information. It is for money that you are not going to use for a long time. What is it? Savings account, checking account, deposit account, maybe a paying account? Deposit account, a bank account that pays you interest, in which you usually leave money for a long time. The first institutions that took on the storage of money and valuables were the temples. For example, the inhabitants of ancient Athens kept their savings in the temples of the Acropolis, and the medieval Europeans often saved money in the monasteries. The word bank is of Italian origin. Word banco, translated from Italian bench, table, in the 15th, 16th centuries in the Venetian Republic, was called the benches on which the money changers and users were put coins and business papers. If the Jew was bankrupt and could not pay for its payment obligation, then this bench was broken on his hand. From the Italian banco rotto, broken bench, in the modern word bankrupt. In medieval Europe, the Roman popes were strictly forbidden to lend money at interest to cash in on the financial difficulties of faith was considered a terrible sin. Therefore, in 1179, Pope Alexander III declared moneylenders hardened sinners and was forbidden to admit them to communion. In addition, then so-called bankers were not allowed to be buried on consecrated ground, so they, like suicide, was buried outside the fence of this cemetery. Thank you for attention. Our lesson is over. Goodbye.